the living ancient realm, two giants pulsed with aura, the embodiment of Prepsy and the bulk of good Cro-Croa. The soda brands convened and traded brags for hours. Prepsy said, "I have the most brave, committed followers." Cro-Croa disagreed. "No, it is my flock. To prove it true, I'll show to you Miss Eleonora talks." So Cro-Croa gooed a portal to display the loyal thing. "Look how she works for me, of my brand she toils and sings." Eleonora was a consumer connection planning manager. She loved her team who'd hoot and scream for each win they'd secure. She wore the merch on weekends, drank it all the fucking time. Her favorite flavors were vanilla, menthol, cherry bratwurst, CBD, dry cinnamon, curry, and lime. A people person, a corporate shill, who praised Cro-Croa for her daily fill. "Well, that's not fair," Prepsy declared, crossing incorporeal arms. "She loves you true, but it's just 'cause you fill her life with charm. I bet you what she'd denounce her god if you treated her like shit. It's not Cro-Croa she loves and serves up, but her own selfish whims." Cro-Croa had a think on the point of the drink, insecure about this integer in its physical earthly precinct. "Perhaps you're right, you know I might have to test Eleonora's heart, and you'll see she loves and gulps and chugs Cro-Croa as she falls apart."
Happy birthday to you. Eleonora Talks always held the last note of the song until someone started laughing. Today it took 2 seconds. "Oh, Ellie, you're the best," said the newly 54-year-old Yvette. "You kept me together during a hard year. Radiation, the nausea. But the thought of coming back and working with," she began to tear up, "with all you wonderful people, it kept me going. Ellie, you've really made us a part of the Cro-Croa family. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart."
"3 cheers for Ellie!"
A delayed echo of "plump on it" hiccuped out of the dozen people for a few seconds. "Oh, stop it, stop it! This is Yvette's day, cheer for her!" And so they did. The 54-year-old blushed and laughed. Someone was always laughing in the office. Theo, her project manager, approached, eyes bloodshot.
"Ellie, can I talk to you in private?"
Eleonora stepped away from the party. People would start dancing soon. Other teams had a running joke that Eleonora spiked the water supply. She closed the door to her office as someone put Cotton-Eyed Joe on a Bluetooth speaker.
"I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm fucking over everyone. I know.
Words raced out of Theo's mouth, directed at the floor.
I know we have a deadline, but I can't. It's all..."
The young man gestured about his cranium. He began to grab at his skin and tug. Eleonora ran her hands gently down his arms, laced her fingers around his, and brought his hands to rest. "Breathe with me." She guided Theo with a breath in, then a breath out. He calmed enough to sob gently. "Shh, shh. It's okay. You don't need to explain. I want you to go home and rest."
"I'll finish it over the weekend, I swear."
"You do what you need to. Here." She left Theo for a moment and leaned under her desk. Despite his unraveling mental health, Theo grinned. The whole office knew what was under her desk. "Have a hot Cro-Croa," she said, handing the young man a glass liter from her mini stove. "You'll feel better." Eleonora Talks stayed late to finish paperwork when the district manager pinged her for a video chat. "Regina! Hey you! What's going on?" Regina's head phased in and out with her digital background, a pleasant beach scene with a palm tree and a daiquiri, half of her tanned face twisted into a grin. "Ellie, Ellie, Ellie, how do you do it? You always make me feel so welcome." Eleonora waved the compliment off with a laugh. "Well, I'm in such a good mood because for once I have good news to deliver." Oh? What is it? Regina placed a hand over her heart and raised her chin. You are, as of 15 minutes ago, the new district manager of Cro-Croa, Ohio. Eleanora spat out a mouthful of Cro-Croa. Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! She wiped her mouth on her collar. But my team is going to... That's the best part. You get to keep your office and still manage your team. Now you have the honor of also managing the rest of the district. Ellie squealed like a toddler. Eee! Oh my Croa! Oh my Croa! She laughed and laughed until a thought stopped her. But what are you going to do? Oh, I'm moving up. You're talking to the new regional manager for the Tri-State. Doogie's job? What happened to him? You don't need to worry about that. Just be excited. In Toledo, a bus driver and a paramedic peeled Doug Doogie Renderson's body from the front grille of a Metro bus. His blood obscured the ad on the front of the bus. Cro-Croa Midnight Thunder. So all it read was under. The driver frowned.
I'm gonna need a hose.
The next day was no one's birthday, but the Consumer Connection team celebrated anyway.
3 cheers for Ellie!
The cheer again fell apart. They needed Eleanora to keep them together. Oh, shucks, you guys are all so sweet, Ellie said. I'm just excited to join the big dogs. Woof, woof. All that Cro-Croa I drank as a kid, I never could have guessed I'd be a part of the Croa family. It's a dream come true.
You think they'll tell you the secret ingredient?
Asked Dale, the rotund office prankster. Everyone oohed and awed. The secret ingredient was always a source of gossip. Maybe. A girl can dream, right? Only Theo looked concerned. He came to her office after the promotion celebration.
Do you have enough time to manage everything they're asking you to do?
Ellie sipped a hot Cro-Croa dry cinnamon. I'll make it work. Maybe it will mean a late night here or there, but as long as I can drink Cro-Croa all day, I think I can handle it.
I just don't want you getting overwhelmed,
Theo said. I won't. She reached into her mini stove and raised her eyebrows at Theo.
No thanks, I'm still on my first one. Oh, and I finished that project, by the way.
I figured. Ellie shook her head. That's a job 4 people would need a month to do. Theo hid a bashful smile.
It doesn't feel like work when we know it's for you.
He left the office as Ellie received a ping for her first meeting with the executive management team. She joined a video call.
Welcome, Eleanora,
said Charles, the regional head of operations. Oh, you can call me Ellie. Everybody does. Thank you for having me. No one said a word. In the display of a dozen faces, not one smiled.
Well, as I said last meeting,
Charles said with an annoyed tone,
we have until end of week to reduce personnel by 25%.
Eleanora gasped. The rest of the meeting attendants chattered like discussing lunch options.
Over here we're cutting Grant, Eloise, BB, and, Josh.
I'm trimming our older staff. They're slow anyway.
I'm sorry, she interrupted. Did you say 2 to 5%?
25%!
Charles snapped.
Jesus Christ, Eleanora, try to keep up. Litigation is draining profits. We are inches away from total closure.
When the meeting ended, Eleanora opened the spreadsheet of all the employees under her new management. There were over 100 people. She clicked to organize the spreadsheet by different factors. Time at Cro-Croa, sales wins, hours logged. Eleanora looked out the partition window of her office and saw her team smiling and dancing. She couldn't spare any of them. Eleanora called in sick to work on Friday. It was her first sick day in 8 years. She couldn't stand the thought of sitting in her office while 27 terminations spread across the region at her command, but at least she had spared her team. She arrived at work Monday and walked onto a silent floor. No radios were playing, no one laughed. She saw Yvette at her station. Morning. Yvette ignored the greeting. They fired Jim Braber. Eleonora didn't react. From accounting, he and I emailed all the time. He's a single dad, and now he's just... She wiped her eyes. Did you know about this? Eleonora blanched. Well, I heard there were trims going on. Someone messed up somewhere. Good people shouldn't be let go. But at least our team was safe, right? Yvette blew her nose. I guess you're right. Eleonora checked her email in her office. Message after message said the same thing. So-and-so is no longer employed at Cro-Croa. Please refer all inquiries to Deborah Masson at HR. It's a massacre. She couldn't help but feel guilty, albeit removed. The distance would not last. A meeting notification pinged in her Slack. She entered a call with Regina. You really fucked me over. Excuse me? What were you thinking? You decimated the other teams and left yours completely alone. You think nobody would notice? Accounting and online sales have been begging me for your termination. Eleonora bit the inside of her cheek hard, a nervous habit she hadn't given into for years. I wasn't trying to, I'm sorry, this is still so new to me. You need to act like an adult. This is the real world. It's a privilege to stay with your team. It can be taken away. I'm sorry, I'll fix it. Please, just tell me what to do. Cut down your team. The region exec is specifically looking at high-cost employees. Just a couple members of your team hiked up our insurance by 10 grand. I'm emailing you names now. Eleonora refreshed her inbox. An email appeared with no subject. There was no text besides 2 names pasted into the box. She read the first one. Fuck. Yvette knocked on Eleonora's door. You wanted to see me? Eleonora could not speak. She gestured to the empty chair facing her. The older woman braced her arms on the chair and lowered herself with a groan. Leaning over, Eleonora could see the bulge of the IV port under the skin of her collarbone. Oof, sorry, I'm running on fumes today, she chuckled. Could you give me a Cro-Croa? Eleonora did not reach for her mini-stove. Earth to Ellie. I asked for a Cro-Croa. Eleonora bit the inside of her cheek. Please? I'm sorry. Sorry? Realization swept over the old woman. What is this? I'm sorry, Yvette. This is the hardest thing I'll ever have to do. Outside the door, the Consumer Connection team heard Yvette burst into tears. Don't you dare say it. I've loved having you on the team. You know that. You're like a mother to us. But my insurance, if I don't have coverage, then, Jesus, this is a death sentence. You know that, right? Don't worry about the insurance. I'll make sure you're covered for the next 2 months, okay? It's the least I can do. The least you can do? The old woman bristled with spite. You are a coward. I never liked working for you. I always knew you were a sniveling coward. I'm sorry. Fuck you. Yvette slammed the door on her way out, and the office workers all ran to her aid, an audience hearing the horrible news. Eleonora watched them gather, turning foul looks at her through the glass. She hid behind her computer. A message pinged on her screen. Be sure to cancel all insurance for terminated employees at once. Someone knocked on her door. It was Dale.
You wanted to see me?
On top of managing the entire region remotely, hours of approving weekly timesheets, thousands of emails, days of meetings, engagement pulses, patrolling time off requests, the execs tasked Eleonora and her Consumer Connection team with a high-profile project.
With all the oomers ray of oomers tay,
Charles said over Zoom in pig Latin.
We need some big consumer events. Get the focus off the, by the way, highly disputed medical claims and onto product. Cro-Croa takes you to the beach, not the hospital. You get me, Eleonora?
100%. She had stopped asking to be called Ellie. There was no room for familiarity.
So we need, an exclusive, in-person event. Reassure folks about Cro-Croa. I want factory tours. I want film crews. I want real consumers having a real good time.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
Great. Side note, I've noticed your team's efficiency decreased the last 2 weeks.
Eleonora sent off a flurry of typo-ridden emails. She didn't even taste the curry in her 9th Cro-Croa. We need to make a big pop, get people talking and consumer sharing on socials. Let's get a celebrity to host a factory tour? Theo came to her in a panic 15 minutes later.
We can't handle this,
he said, pacing in her office, too anxious to sit down. Eleonora spoke while typing. Sure we can. Theo, sorry, just sending this. She finally looked up from her computer. Theo looked worse than she had ever seen him. His hair was a mess, his button-down shirt one button off.
You're not listening to me,
he shouted.
Okay, maybe the team can manage, but I can't.
Theo, you can. She received another ping and gave the young man only half her attention. You do the work of 4 people. You can... Theo started hitting his head. By the time Eleonora noticed, his face was all red. She spilled her Cro-Croa, rushing to help him. Hey! It's okay. She laced her fingers through his. He fought her.
Leave me the fuck alone.
He left before she could offer him a Cro-Croa. Eleonora bit the inside of her cheek and gasped in pain. Ah! She probed a finger into her mouth. It came out covered in blood. Eleonora stayed late one night for a mandatory, remote, online happy hour. Only Theo was still in the office. He had stayed late every night, including the weekend. She gulped at her 3rd hard Croa. So let's just go around the call, the perky HR manager Sharana said. And everyone say a moment this last month when work inspired them. The other managers started sharing at once. Eleonora scoured her memory, but all she could hear was Yvette. You are a coward. All right, Eleonora, your turn. Well, just thinking. Eleonora heard a guffaw of laughter. It echoed from the vacant office floor. For a moment, she hoped mirth had returned to her office. Excuse me, I'll be right back. She exited her office to see Charles walking backwards, leading a group of glassy-eyed investors.
And this is the most fun department. Consumer connections. We joke here that Eleonora laces the water. These folks are wild. Eleonora!
He waved a hand.
Just giving a tour to our friends at Nestle. Hey, when are we gonna get a chocolate Cro-Croa?
When we get a Cro-Croa chocolate,
boomed a man in a blazer and t-shirt. Everyone slapped their knees. Charles led them to Theo's office.
Who else we got here tonight? Oh, it's my main man, Theo. What's going on?
Theo had been awake for 26 hours. He would need to stay awake another 14 to keep on track.
Fine.
The investors laughed at his dismissive tone. Charles puffed up his chest.
I said, what's going on?
Fine.
Charles was not amused.
Bud, maybe you're not hearing me. I said, what is going on?
And I said, fine.
The next morning, Eleonora received an email with the subject, "A problem with Theo." She pinged him for an emergency Zoom chat. "Charles, I can't fire him."
Yes, you will. That little shit has the worst attitude I have ever seen. It's not Cro-Croa. Simple as that.
Yes, but, she whispered, but it's not his fault. He's a hard worker, but he's been pushed hard, and the fact that he's autistic and... Charles began singing, hands over his ears.
I did not just hear that.
Well, if you would, his autism is not a problem. You just can't fire...
What the fuck did I just tell you? I don't want to know about a certain problem employee's protected status by anti-discrimination laws.
Please, if I could just email you and explain his situation...
Do not put that in writing! Are you fucking kidding me, Tox? What is wrong with you?
Theo took the news better than Yvette. He seemed to relish the opportunity to scream and insult her. He called her calloused, a liar, and a fucking snake. Eleonora stayed on mute for Zoom meetings, as she could not stop weeping. The event planning immediately fell weeks behind. None of the celebrities they contacted were interested in hosting a tour, no matter the money. It was a low moment when they offered it to Cincinnati native Nick Lachey. "What the fuck?" read the subject of an email from Regina. "You are way behind. If this project fails, it's my job on the line too. I added 2 new hires to your team to get this moving since we," and this final part was in caps, "can't depend on you." Eleonora bit her cheek, tears in her eyes. Hiring new people? If we just kept the ones we had. She wrote an email back that she herself didn't understand. 100%. Thanks for circling back. Absolutely right. Lots of gears moving, need to jumpstart. She was drinking her 14th Cro-Croa of the day. She bit her cheek and thought she swallowed a worm. Ugh! Something skinny and slimy slid down her throat. She ran to the bathroom and tried to cough it up. The Cro-Croa burned on the way back up. There, in the drain, she saw a tiny piece of bloody gristle. She opened her mouth and pressed it close to the bathroom mirror. It was a piece of her cheek. She had chewed clean through. The consumer factory tour arrived faster than anyone could prepare. Parts of the project were completed while others were abandoned. Over 20 Cro-Croa heads from social media were flown to the factory and given a welcome basket with an itinerary of canceled events and novelty t-shirts. The hotel was booked full, forcing winners to share rooms. Worst of all, flaccid late 90s teen heartthrob Nick Lachey had shown up sloshed on hard Croa. His manager made him go home. Charles berated Eleonora for the failure until she volunteered to lead the tour herself. "It's my fault. I'll take care of it. Just stop shouting at me." Eleonora met an excited crowd on the factory floor. "Hello, everyone," she said into a mouthpiece. "I'm Eleonora Tox, and I'm the district manager here at Cro-Croa, Ohio."
"Where's Nick Lachey?"
The little girl pouted.
"They said we'd meet Nick Lachey."
She began to cry. Eleonora swallowed hard. "Who here is ready to see how we make your favorite drink?" The response was tepid. "Come on, you can do better than that." "Now who's excited?" This time, they were silent. Eleonora's mic squealed with feedback. "Let's get started." Eleonora walked backwards. Her breathing, amplified by the mic, sounded like a brewing storm. "The first stop here is, well..." She stood before a massive distillation column. "This is it's the flavor enhancer." A man with hairy forearms snapped a photo on his phone. "Oh, no pictures, please." The man took 2 more photos.
"How does it work?"
the heartbroken little girl asked. "Well, thank you for asking." Eleonora had no idea. "You see that part at the bottom here? They take that off, and the new flavors are inside, and they, take them out, and they, switch them, and..." She was interrupted by shouts.
What the hell is she talking about?
A white-haired man in a Cro-Croa polo and hard hat approached the crowd, fists swinging at his sides like a silverback gorilla. His name tag read, Lerod, site manager.
Oh, I was just telling them about the flavor enhancer.
The crowd parted so the man could approach the harried group leader.
It's a goddamn distillation column. Excuse me, who are you?
Eleanor talks. I'm with corporate, and I'm leading this tour.
I've never heard of you. Folks, is this lady screwing up your tour?
There was a resounding yes from the prize winners.
Christ almighty. Don't you worry, Lerod James is here to tell you right. So, this is where we distill our secret ingredient from raw material. And if you wait...
He checked his watch.
6 more seconds, you'll see a new batch load in.
The top of the column steamed and popped open with a metallic belch. Gray chunks the size of tennis balls clanged down the metal chute at the top of the column, splashing inside. Everyone oohed and awed.
What is it?
Asked the man with hairy forearms.
Well, if I told you, it wouldn't be a secret.
Everyone cracked up.
Right, let's move on to the next station.
Eleonora fell to the back of the group. Lerod didn't even need a mic. He commanded the group with a resounding baritone. She kept hers on, blasting the crowd with an occasional sniffle or subdued moan of agony. The crowd laughed and chuckled at Lerod's every joke. He was introducing the bottling machinery when an assistant manager ran to his side and whispered in his ear.
Again? God dang it. All right, folks, this is where I have to leave you.
He looked at Eleonora in disgust.
Hey, Miss Useless, you remember how we got here? Can you lead this gang back?
She nodded.
At least you're good for something. You folks have a good day. When you get to the gift shop, tell them Lerod said you could all have a free Cro-Cro.
The crowd cheered and waved goodbye to the man. The disappointment was palpable as Eleonora stepped back in front. All right, everyone ready? No one said a word. Eleonora led the group successfully back through one hallway they entered, but quickly lost all sense of direction. Is it this door? Or maybe... No. The tour group chattered to themselves, stray words sneaking through. She has no idea. Who is this idiot? I miss Lerod. The factory was a labyrinth, and none of the signs made any sense to Eleonora. The crowd squeezed through a single door, down a dimly lit cement tunnel, static suits dangling from hooks on water-stained walls.
Are we there yet?
Whined the little girl.
I have to use the bathroom.
I think this should be it.
She opened a door that read, Containment Zone, Authorized Personnel Only. There were no windows in the room she entered. There were no chairs or decorations. There was only the tank. The sharp reek of fennel was her first clue she had done something wrong.
Actually, this isn't right. Turn back.
But everyone was used to ignoring the woman's directions. They crowded in.
What is that?
Squealed the little girl. In the tank, a gray worm the size of a moped sloshed against its restraints, submerged in viscous muck like hair gel. It hurt to observe, like staring at the sun. It aspirated a high whine. A chain bit into its upper portions, while tubes chugged and drained at bulbous growths festering over its body like bumps on a zucchini. The man with hairy forearms snapped a picture. Everyone else pulled out their phones.
No photos!
Eleonora cried. No photos! Later, the interrogation team had trouble believing Eleanor's actions were an honest mistake.
How did you know where to find the artifact?
They kept asking.
How did you bypass security?
I don't know. They kept her awake for 28 hours, never letting her leave the dark, humid room, let alone her metal chair. Her back ached, her face sagged, and it had been over a day since she had a Cro-Croa. A headache split the fissures in her skull.
Quit lying to us!
A man slapped her. I didn't see anything. I don't even know what it was. Finally, Charles was called in to decommission her. Seeing his face, Eleonora began to weep. Charles! Thank God! You told them, right? I'm a good manager. I love Cro-Croa. A frown split across his face.
I'm afraid Cro-Croa doesn't feel the same.
What?
This is the hardest thing I ever have to do. I have to let you go, Eleonora.
Her lip trembled. Her head dipped. Charles thought she took it well at first. No! She screamed the word. A blood vessel burst in her eye. Every inch of her face wrinkled. No, 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 no! No! She collapsed to his feet, squeezed his ankles. It's all I have! A full moon shone down on the Kroger off Coldwater Road. Eleonora Tox sat below a loading dock, clothes torn to rags, skin knotted and squishy with strange new growths. Shh, shh, careful, careful. Plastic bags and empty bottles surrounded her, all of them Cro-Croa. She steadied an aluminum can over a dirty plastic 1 liter, letting each drop of Croa fall safely inside. A raccoon watched her. It waited. Eleonora reached for another discarded bottle to drain when the raccoon pounced on her. It grabbed for her bottle. No! No! The raccoon bit her hand and she let go. The creature ran off with hours of her labor sloshing and spilling on the pavement. She tried to stand up and follow, but she collapsed at once. Her muscles had begun deteriorating without her Croa fix. Liver dissolving. It's all I have. It's all I have. It's all I have. Eleonora picked at the bubbles brewing under her skin. Was it the Cro-Croa or the lack of it that was killing her? The raccoon bite had grown inflamed, but looked no worse than any other patch of skin. Her head swam. You are a coward. She scratched too hard and popped one of the bubbles. Clear, greasy liquid drained from the hole. She put her mouth to the wound. It tasted delicious. She sucked and sucked until her full belly made sleep come easy. She lay down, and darkness fell. Eleonora woke. Hello? Her eyes were cloudy, and at first the object was far away. But slowly, it grew larger. It was a circle, half blue, half white, with 2 capital C's connecting in the middle. It's you, she smiled at the corporate symbol. You came back for me. The symbol grew larger and larger. I've missed you, Cro-Cro. I never stopped wanting you. I need you. Now the approaching, glorious symbol rattled the ground about her. Eleonora closed her eyes and held out her arms. Take me with you. The truck driver left the cab of his truck and walked to unlatch the gate. He stopped at the sight of the woman crushed between the truck and the loading dock. Her insides popped, spraying red over the Cro-Croa branding on his truck.
Ah, shit.
He would need a hose.
Prepsy turned away while Cro-Croa watched in glee. Now do you see, it asked, this woman's loyalty? Prepsy shrugged its shoulders, scowled in great disdain. One woman, so what? I bet he can't make it happen again. Cro-Croa didn't have to bet to know what would unfold. It would always kill to get its fill. The story must be told. The story must be told.